Making side characters the main characters is usually a poor decision unless you're Saul Goodman.
And the main character is the main character for a reason. When y'all try to swap those roles, 9 times out of 10, you fuck it up or you get Planet Shane. The worst era of Nickelodeon. I'm not gonna lie. I have a feeling of the time period he's gonna say. I'm gonna hold it to myself for now, but it should be interesting because I don't think it's my generation. And yes, that's rooted by nostalgia.
Nickelodeon has been loved by all ages for decades.
Talk to me.
Since releasing the first 3 Nicktoons in the early
Rugrats
90s,
Fire Show.
Nickelodeon has become known as a predominantly cartoon channel. The 90s are revered as the golden age of cartoons, then the 2000s being a noteworthy successor that definitely started to falter as time went on. The next era, being the 2010s, is arguably the worst era, and I am here to tell you why. But first,
the 2010s. So I've seen this happen in RDC sphere. Shout out RDC. It depends what you mean by 2010. For example, if Fairly Odd Parents was originally made in the 90s, early 2000s, whatever the fuck it was made, but then Poof's born and you're discussing Fairly Odd Parents in the 2010s, well, gangy, Fairly Odd Parents is still the exact same show. You just don't like what happened around in 2010. Does that kind of make sense? Maybe that's not the best example there, but like SpongeBob's another one. SpongeBob been around, shit, it's still around, but like I guess we're gonna have to divide the season by season, or are we gonna say SpongeBob doesn't even exist in the 2010s? Because I think it would be unfair to also say Fairly Odd Parents doesn't exist in the 2010s, or how like Gumball doesn't exist even though they done made 2 new seasons for it. So I want to see where he's going with this because that conversation gets a little not whack, iffy.
First, a little bit of backstory. In the early 90s, they introduced Doug, Rugrats, and the Ren and Stimpy show.
I swear I'm gonna let my boy talk, but the last thing I want to say, there's only one of these shows I watch consistently. And I already spoiled it. Rugrats is a fire show. Doug and Ren and Stimpy just never was for me, man. It just wasn't, bro. I didn't think these niggas were that funny. I'd rather watch Arthur, but Doug was cool, I guess.
These 3 would become the first Nicktoons. They proved to be very popular.
Don't say Disney's, by the way,
choosing
but
a cartoon-oriented path. Rocko's Modern Life, Cat Dog, Angry Beavers, Our Real Monsters, Hey Arnold, and the Wild Thornberrys.
Hey Arnold clears everything you've just mentioned.
Were soon to follow. All of these cartoons were very successful and still remain icons today. They were original and wacky, and had humor that hadn't been seen in cartoons before. These cartoons made up the 90s, and is now known as the Golden Era.
Hey Arnold!
The next era was the SpongeBob era.
I'm not gonna lie, hate him or love him, the SpongeBob era is really the SpongeBob era. Because once everybody tried to make a show that was kind of like a SpongeBob, where the NPCs are funny. It's not just a matter of the main character and it's casual. Like Bikini Bottom is a character in SpongeBob, damn near. I mean, hell, SpongeBob is such a like all-time, like SpongeBob truly is the GOAT because it fits every generation. Like, you know how many times on Twitter nowadays people will just sit there and have a random clip of SpongeBob. SpongeBob is so insanely clippable for 30 minutes. Or 15 minutes, because for a while they did 15. Like, remember that episode where, and I'm really gonna go on this tangent because it deserves flowers. Remember that episode where Mr. Krabs fired Squidward all over a dime? That episode may be the most clipped episode in SpongeBob history. And it's not the best episode of SpongeBob history, but everyone has the clip of whether it's SpongeBob strangling Mr. Krabs, or if I need a job done, I get someone with a job to do that job. Or I think the same episodes, even when he's in like a mascot or some shit, prior to it, no, I think that's wrong. Prior to the job part, he's over here doing a puppet show for Squidward and stuff. SpongeBob's really like OD goated. I don't know if it's my favorite Nick cartoon of all time, but it's definitely just objectively the GOAT.
Was and still is their cash cow. So a lot of their focus went to SpongeBob. The entirety of the 2000s was plastered with the yellow square. Even with SpongeBob's success, there were a handful of cartoons that came out around this time that were still very good. The Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, Danny Phantom, Invader Zim,
bangers,
My Life as a Teenage
all
Robot,
hits.
Avatar.
Oh my God, yes, no misses.
The first half of the 2000s was basically a sequel to the 90s. Original cartoons, unique concepts and adventures, and very enjoyable to watch.
Oh, why'd I hit the soundboard? Didn't mean to hit the mic part. Yeah, that's where he's gonna go with the 2010s. And especially with the 2020s, even though the 2020s, I think, do a good job with their reboots and rehashes. I'm not gonna lie, maybe that's a hot take, but the latter 2010s, or at least beginning 2010s, I'm trying to remember the time. There were some popular original IPs, at least on Cartoon Network, but Nickelodeon, chat, woo! Like Cartoon Network in 2010, I'm pretty sure that's regular show, Adventure Time, and shit like that. Nickelodeon was dropping Fanboys and Chum Chums. I don't know, gangy. And some people like that show, but Planet Sheens and stuff. Shout, by the way, R.P. Sheen's voice actor. That joint actually messed me up.
The second half of the 2000s is where the decline began, but had not fully hit rock bottom. The shows they were making didn't necessarily drop in quality, but a lack in promotion and opportunity led them to fail.
No, they did drop in quality. And that's fine because a lot of TV shows struggle to keep successful shows longer than 3, 4, 5 seasons. It's actually like a lot of people on YouTube, and it's not even Sage's bum opinion. A lot of people on YouTube have studied this. Yeah, it's like, shout out LS Mark. He's one of the guys that I'll refer to here. And then a couple of movie experts. But the point is, a lot of times when you have a show that's so successful that it warrants a 4th season, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, it's like, you go from the 1 through 3, maybe even 1 through 5 seasons of build up, putting names on. Okay, where the names is on now. Haha, the jokes are getting really funny, whatever. Until you get then you get to a point where it's like, you told that joke before. It's not that different from this story. It's not that different from this character. Damn, this character kind of feels like Flanderized. He don't even feel the same as he once was. So it's very safe to say that these shows that gone on for a long, long period of time at some point fell off. That's very valid. And for a lot of cartoons, it is the case when these things happen. There's few cartoons that have gone on past 5 seasons, I would say, that don't feel like, man, they was better when they just started. And that's not even out of nostalgia. It's because certain tropes are just flagrantly repeated. Original animators, hell, the people that originally made the show can either pass away or not even be involved anymore. It's very safe to say, without even being like a boomer yelling at the cloud, no, some of these cartoons, the longer they go, the higher the odds that they will fall off.
These shows were for the most part overshadowed by their more successful cousins like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. These shows were tackling the power of Juju, El Tigre, The Mighty
Not
Bee,
so much on El Tigre,
Scratch, The X's, and Back at the Barnyard.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. He's right about those shows, but to be fair to those shows, we don't know. Especially El Tigre. I really like El Tigre. I know some people that like Mandy, Mindy, whatever in the Bee, Queen Bee bitch, whatever. I know we just saw her. Point is, those shows, I want to say, always aired really late. Like, El Tigre, I know I had to stay up till 2 o'clock at times. Badass kid. 11:30 maybe on Nicktoons exclusively. Mandy and the Bee at one point was everywhere, then it fell the fuck off, so maybe her show specifically. But a lot of these shows that they're talking about, outside of Fanboy and Chum Chum, never really kept their 8 to 9 central, 8, 7 central, whatever the term is. 9, 8 central, sorry. They never really kept those. They always were like the midnight and afterthought, because what are you gonna do? Take Fairly Odd Parents off the air, take SpongeBob off the air. So what he's saying is right, but kind of for like not even just quality diff, but just because you couldn't take the other show off the air.
Hi, my name's It's Melon, and you're watching TSO Bald, aka TSO Bad Anime Takes, aka TSO Sage!
Nickelodeon didn't really seem to give these shows a chance, and really only promoted the big shows that they knew would perform well.
Correct.
In the last year of the 2000s, a show would be released that I think truly begins the descent into the
wow,
worst
we said the exact same thing. Crazy.
Chum Chum. I know this dead horse has been beaten so much it's just pulp now. It's trendy to hate on this show, and that's not what I'm here to do. I'm simply bringing up the point that this show relied heavily on poop humor.
Yes,
I'm
it
not
did.
criticizing it, but it does set in motion a domino effect of terrible humor.
Yeah, I love Total Drama Island more than like 99% of cartoons, but the biggest flaw about Total Drama Island as you go on is it goes from, hey, Owen's gross to everyone gets gross and starts puking and throwing up and stuff like that. And it gets a bit egregious, or Owen specifically at some point just hits a new tier of always farting. Yeah, poop humor definitely for me isn't cool. It's kind of like for my anime fans that traveled over here. Hey, but more importantly, like, it's kind of like with anime. I don't like when regen powers are there in a series after, you know, you have 5 arcs and then the next big bad, oh, he just is immortal or he has regen. It's one of those tropes in anime I don't like. In cartoons, definitely just the smelly, stinky poop humor. I'm not a fan of it.
I am now going to give an overview of all the Nicktoons during this decade. 17 different Nicktoons premiered in this decade, compared to 11 in the 90s and 17 in the 2000s. For the sake of the argument, I'm going to only go over actual Nicktoons, not every single animated show that aired this decade.
Right.
So, for shows like Rabbids Invasion,
he's holding a
that
plunger.
most certainly helps my argument, will not be talked about, as it is not categorized as a Nicktoon.
And he's doing y'all a huge service with that because that show is like the epitome of poop humor.
The first new Nicktoon of the decade was Planet Sheen, a super unnecessary spin-off to Jimmy Neutron. This spin-off was not well liked. Making side characters the main characters is usually a poor decision unless you're Saul Goodman.
I've argued that for years. I get it, chat. Comment section in this case, because chat's not here. I'm working on a project. But yeah, a lot of people have this fixation that blank should be a main character of this show, and blank should be a main character of this show, and blank should be... Bro, the main character works for... The verse is built around the main character, and the main character is the main character for a reason. That's not even Dick Sucker being a main character drone, but... when y'all try to swap those roles, 9 times out of 10, you fuck it up or you get too far away from what the original show was. Case in point, Planet Sheen.
Sheen became overly annoying, the plots were too bizarre, in a bad way, and visually, the show wasn't the best thing Nick had to offer. Going back to the humor, it was definitely different. It wasn't like Jimmy Neutron.
Not at all.
It was reminiscent of Fanboy and Chum Chum. The ratings gave validity to these claims, and Nickelodeon canceled the show after 1 season. The next Nicktoon was Tough Puppy. Being that it was created by Butch Hartman,
okay. I was good without it.
Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom, it couldn't have been all bad, right? Well, it wasn't, but you could definitely tell the shows were losing soul. I don't know how else to describe it than that. I get that I'm here to articulate my point with words, but this show feels like you took Fairly Odd Parents, drained the soul from it, and slapped on a spy theme. The next two...
What was the dog from Fairly Odd Parents? It felt like you took that... Sparky. It felt like you made Sparky a little bit more competent, but in exchange, everyone feels like either a Cosmo or a Wanda. It is...
shows are Winx Club and The Legend of Korra. They do not fit into the category of terrible. They are the very few diamonds in the rough of this decade. Robot and Monster
very mature
is the next
shows.
Show, and it just brings more of the same. The show feels very empty,
Fanboy
content-wise and visually. The humor this time isn't so much farting, but beating each other up and name-calling. There's nothing...
It literally looks like Fanboy and Chum Chum. I mean, the purple guy and the orange short guy. It literally looks like Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Along with that,
so far, I agree with a lot of what this guy's saying.
It's the most common type of humor, but to have every joke based on it gets boring very fast.
Robot and Monster.
2012 TMNT is an all-around fine show.
Yeah.
It gets the job done. I don't have any strong opinions on it. Sanjay and Craig are guilty of being one of the worst on the network. I could make the argument that it is worse than Fanboy and Chum Chum.
You can really argue it,
but it's very close. It relies only on fart humor. It's like you took the worst quality out of all the popular shows at the time and put it into one to make this show. It is just another show where a human and a non-human best friend duo go on really wacky adventures. Another thing this show has in common with all of the others that come after it is its hyperactivity. Fanboy and Chum Chum had it along with Tough Puppy.
Yeah, and it's... I say this as a grown man who was a kid. So hopefully nobody says, but you're old now, dude. Because when I was a kid, I thought this. Shows like Fanboy and Chum Chum, Sanjay and Craig, I like how he pointed out hyperactivity because that's a way better word than I was going to say, but I'm still going to say how I was going to say it. It felt like these shows, it felt like these shows just do too much. It always felt like something extra going on for no damn reason. Like take SpongeBob, for example, can get very chaotic. Bikini Bottom goes from 0 to 100 like that. But at least with Bikini Bottom and SpongeBob, something happened to then lead to this, to lead to that, to lead to that, to lead to that type shit. And I'm not saying SpongeBob is the most well thought goddamn cartoon, but at least had reasoning behind these things. Someone at the Krusty Krab was over here bitching, lying about pickles that led to SpongeBob falling off, serving everybody bad Krabby Patties. Then he came back, doubled down on it after SpongeBob got in his groove. Now the city was like, damn, bro, you like the best cook in the shit, what's going on? And it led to an overreaction scene where the entire city's looking at this one customer. But that's how this is, right? Sanjay and Craig, Fanboy and Chum Chum, they off rip starting off with shit like that. It's kind of like a way more satirical, somehow way more satirical version of regular show. And at least regular show can get the job done with mature thematics and aspects, kind of like damn near like stuff that you can relate to even as an adult or a high schooler or middle schooler, whatever the case may be. But this is just like kid shit. But it's always rambunctious. There's always explosions. There's always farts. There's always yelling. It just doesn't ever slow down, and you don't ever really get a chance to relate to the character. They just have to be funny, or the show sucks.
Right in your face with this show. Surely this show is as bad as it gets.
I forgot about this. Yeah, this is the worst one. This is the worst one. I mean, you can look at the designs. It gets bad.
Nickelodeon really said, let's take Sanjay and Craig and make it 100 times worse.
Yeah.
This show is complete brain rot humor, if you can even call it humor. There are no real stories for episodes, just recycled junk you have seen before. Annoying characters. So much stuff to do with butts. It is absolutely unreal how this was created, and then continued to be created. Look on the bright side. Breadwinners is the worst this decade gets. Harvey Beaks was a breath of fresh air. And then Pig, Goat, Banana, and Cricket released, and you were right back into the mud. More hyperactive, over-exaggerated animation.
Yeah, you can tell by like how
the
they
Loud House is next.
Look.
And as it is still running to this day, it has proven to be a much better show than the others. Even though I would argue the fart jokes and hyperactivity is definitely still present. Bunsen is a Beast, the fourth show by Butch Hartman, proved that it was more of what this decade has churned out. Yet again, a buddy duo where one is non-human, and they go on way too wacky of adventures. Welcome to Wayne. It seems better than most. I can't give any personal anecdote as I've never seen this one. Online, the most common criticism is that it is a Gravity Falls ripoff. 2 days after Welcome to Wayne aired, Fairly Odd
But at
Parents
least that's unique, and it's unique to Nickelodeon, so fair.
Canceled. This now left SpongeBob and, well, nothing else really.
Damn.
At this point, no show besides SpongeBob had been airing for longer than a year or so, and their cash cow SpongeBob was getting worse and worse. Hang on. Let me talk about that in a second. Let's finish off this decade. There are 4 Nicktoons left of the decade. Only one of them still falls into the hyperactive poop humor category. The other 3 are reboots or spin-offs. This is the exact trend repeating itself. Let me explain.
Yeah, now this is self-explanatory. Sorry to get quiet there. I'm actually really entertained by this video. I'm actually gonna give him a like here. Round of applause. This is really good. Sorry, I'll react harder. But in regards to what he's saying here, this is the next segment, and this is why I think the 2020s, you can do these things justice, but you do gotta hold accountability as well. It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, the fascination to just not have original ideas and to just recolor, remaster, or what's it called? Recolor, remaster, or spin off cartoons as of late, it gets pretty egregious, especially even to this era. Now, I think a lot of them recently have been good, but Phineas and Ferb, I think, is good. I think Gumball is good, but we're talking in the Nickelodeon space right now.
Eating itself. Let me explain.
I think but that Mutant Ninja Turtles one, I haven't seen it. I heard that it's like, it looks really well animated, but it's nothing like too crazy to brag about. That's what I've heard. I haven't seen it.
At the end of the 2000s, Fanboy and Chum Chum introduced the poop humor, and it continued all throughout the decade. Now these 3 shows, The Adventures of Kid Danger, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the Casa Grandes are all spin-offs and reboots. Now look at the 2020s so far. Almost 70% of the shows in the decade thus far
just talking
are
about
spin-offs, reboots, and licensed shows.
Correct.
It seems as if at the end of the decade they introduce shows that are indicative of what is to come in the following decade.
Yep. Because a lot of things didn't work for them when they were trying to be original, because they saw formula, but because they literally saw the formula that worked, which is human, non-human poop humor. That wasn't working because it wasn't a notorious face. So what they decide to do is bring back your notorious faces and copy that same formula. Now, the unfortunate part is they don't realize that nobody likes that fucking formula.
Okay, now the decline of
Or at least
SpongeBob.
it's dead now.
It's been talked about endlessly. They say it got bad after the first movie. Whatever. I'm not here to dispute anything. I'm here to say at this point SpongeBob was arguably just bad. Look up the worst episodes of SpongeBob. No, I'll do it for you. The consensus is that A Pal for Gary is the worst.
Yeah,
SpongeBob
I remember watching this live. This episode was really frustrating even to me as a kid. When did this release? For context, because I know someone's going to pull, you're older, you're having adult conversations as if you're not a fucking... January 2nd, 2010. So I was 11 years old. What I'm about to say, Chad, I mean this wholeheartedly. I think if my mother was here, she would attest to it. I was like visibly upset at this episode. And it wasn't the fact that this Pal was beating the shit out of Gary. It was like, yo, what the fuck is up with every character involved today? Why is SpongeBob being an asshole to Gary? Like it was just that. And I didn't get it at the time, but that's exactly what I was alluding to earlier and what he's probably going to allude to as well. Characters just stop feeling like themselves at some point when shows go on for so long. It's just a natural thing. Certain people are hired, certain people are fired. Art design, SpongeBob looks a little dumber nowadays than he did back then. And not saying he was the sharpest guy, but speaking of SpongeBob not only looks, he just is dumber nowadays than he was back then. Back then, SpongeBob was like childish, naive, but he wasn't an idiot. Nowadays, SpongeBob and Patrick, like the same level of stupid.
And it tries to eat Gary. They literally rewrite SpongeBob to be dumber than usual to make the story work. Another terrible episode is One Course Meal, the episode where Mr. Krabs tortures and abuses Plankton, which is pretty out of character for Mr. Krabs. What's my point with this? These episodes came out in 2010. Most of the worst episodes came out in this decade. So not only were their new shows bad, but their legacy shows were too.
Yep. Live action oversaturated.
Another point is the oversaturated.
Oh, yeah. Dad, I didn't even think he was going there. I was so cartoon minded. Yeah. So, Dan's plan, unfortunately, had his whole thing on Nick. But after the dance plan and his whatever fetishes, there was an obsession across all three, but especially Disney and Nickelodeon, when it came to getting that next childhood star. Unfortunately, they lost like the organic magic behind how they got their Miranda Cosgroves, Victoria Justice, hell, all the goddamn Victorious on video one day, because I will always argue Tori Vega and Victoria Justice both are underrated. Just super teen cast. But anywho, yeah, these live action shows, long story less long, just so we can finish the video, feel really uninspired compared to how they did back then. Because back then it had a certain I want to say intent behind these things. It wasn't just about creating the next big time Grammy Award winning artist that spawned from blank. But once they had big time Grammy Award winning artists and actors that spawned from blank network, they chased that, and you could tell.
Of live action shows. 29 live action shows premiered in this decade, but that's not all. There were other shows that didn't premiere in the 2010s.
And a lot of superpower shows.
Making the total 33. That's
iCarly, True Jackson VP, The True, Big Time Rush, Victorious, Bug and Skinner, Fred, How to Rock, Marvin, Sam Cat, a lot of mid. Some heat on the left side, though.
A lot of shows. Some of them aren't that bad. I mean, they're sitcoms with children lead actors. They can't be that good either. But some of them are especially heinous.
Poop humor.
Fred the Show.
Yeah, Fred the Show was definitely, hey, this guy is viral on TikTok, put him on TV. You see why we don't do that too often nowadays.
Can't fairly talk ill of all these shows because I have close to no knowledge about them. I only
but it was
watched
like Vine
cartoons
back then,
growing
right?
up. But all you need to do is look at the numbers. 33 shows running in a span of 10 years. It has to get watered down.
Yep.
It has to. I know the animation
just logically. This is even, I like how he's doing it. I'm going a little bit more opinionated, but I like how he's arguing it in the most objective way possible. Logically speaking, yeah, you have all of these shows airing along with cartoons. There's no fucking way that everything's going to hit. No way. So they like, that's why I was saying that it almost feels like at some point, these networks, rather than like coming up with organic ideas and giving them time to breathe, once they didn't want to get rid of the old, they wanted to copy the old. And at the same time, anytime they did anything new, it was just to reap benefits of the old. It was just throwing shit at the wall, praying something stuck. And when nothing stuck, they just said, fuck it. We're just going to air the same 5 shows all day. Looking at you, Teen Titans Go. I'm not even Teen Titans Go is this all-time horrid show, but holy shit. Might as well be Cartoon Network ridiculousness. Another one, granted MTV.
Action studio, with completely different budgets and everything. But I really wish more effort would have been spent on the cartoon side rather than live action. You can clearly tell where Nickelodeon's focus went into this decade. And I believe this is a small contributing factor as to why the cartoons were so bad.
Why poop humor? Good question.
Why did they cling to this type of humor? What made them think it was successful and funny? I can't tell you that. The only reason I can hypothesize, and it's a stretch.
It's cheap to, it's easy to write.
Is for shock value.
Yep.
YouTube was becoming
easy
very
to
successful and popular in the early 2010s. And by the mid-2010s...
Easy to write, very clippable. I'm a content creator, you a content creator. We know ball, bro. This is easy. If throughout this entire video, I could have any point that eloquently explains or horribly explains whatever segment. But if I just sit there and for 30 seconds say why Fanboy and Chum Chum suck, someone can clip that, make it short, goes viral on Twitter. It's easy. Poop humor is more clippable. Anger is more clippable. Yelling is clippable. So they saw social media. They saw, hey, I'm Fred. They saw these things. They said, bet, let's just do what we can get the most clips out of to push onto Nick YouTube. It's frame one easy.
Was huge. The network saw this huge shift in viewership, where the kids, instead of watching cartoons, were watching their favorite YouTubers play video games, or vlogging, or what have you. I'm guessing maybe this was their attempt to catch people's eyes and be like, look at us. We have this crazy, wacky, over-exaggerated junk. Look, I know that's not a very good reason, but I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel.
It is a good reason. I
can't think of any other reason why any executive in their right mind would approve the poop humor. Not much has changed into the 2020s. The poop humor shows are definitely decreasing in quantity. However, they are just being replaced with reboots, spin-offs, and other licensed IPs.
Yep.
We're definitely in a reboot era right now. Everyone is doing it. And there aren't tons of unique new movies or shows.
Nope.
It only makes sense that Nickelodeon follows suit. Make sure you check out my other videos. I have quite a few about Nickelodeon.
Yeah, this is actually a fire video, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I fuck with you, man. We might actually spin the block back on this channel soon. This was a fire video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I came off too boomer. I'm gonna be disappointed if this entire time I wasn't looking at the screen. But take care, stay blessed. I'm out this motherfucker, dog.